Jake Stuart with the National Sports Media Association, and today I'm joined by Idaho Sportscaster of the Year, Chris Lewis. Chris, thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Chris, you cover Boise obviously out there. That's your main sport you do, but you've been able to broadcast for CBS and even the Olympics. Can you talk about what first brought you into the industry?
Kind of just like the tale as old as time is that, like, you grow up wanting to play, and then when you realize you're not going to make the NBA or make the NFL or anything like that, you're like, okay, how do you stay involved with the sport and also get to watch games and get paid for it, right? Like that's kind of how it goes when you're a big sports fan. And it's a similar story to me. I grew up in the Philadelphia area, South Jersey, outside of Philly. It's a big basketball fan there. Grew up in the Allen Iverson era of Philadelphia basketball. So, I was always going to these basketball camps and, wearing the shooter sleeve and having the braids and everything like that. So, just like everybody else was basically in the South Jersey area at the time. So, after all those basketball camps, there was one week where there wasn't any basketball camps, but there was a sports broadcasting camp. It was the one run by Jeremy Treatment of Play-by-Play Camps, and went to that for a week one summer when I was like, 13 years old or something like that. Really loved it. Thought it was fun. I was like, hey, if I don't make the NBA, well, then let's maybe try to do this. And, turns out didn't make the NBA. So went into the sports broadcasting route. And, it's been a fun ride, fun journey. It's taken me to a lot of cool places. So it's been enjoyable.
Well, Chris, I do love that story because I think a lot of the guys we've had on so far and girls as well have given us a similar rendition, but more so the other way around, saying I started out wanting to do to be a sports writer or sportscaster and have done that for so long, or maybe wanted to be an athlete and then steered towards your path as well. Well, I wanted to ask you that this is your first award from the National Sports Media Association. What does this mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, there's just so many talented people within the industry all over the place. So, it's quite an honor. I know there's plenty of other deserving candidates that, have won in the past or haven't won yet. And it's always hard with awards and recognitions because it's just like, well, there's so many people who are deserving, and what's the reason one person gets it over another? A lot of people work hard. A lot of people put in time. So it's just, a matter of, who gets fortunate over a select, period of time and whatnot. So, while I do appreciate having an award like this, I do realize that, I am a product of my environment. I've had a lot of people who have helped support me and allowed me to, reach the level that I've been lucky to have at this point, led none more than Bob Beeler, who I don't know how many times he's won the Idaho Sportscaster of the Year. You might have the statistics somewhere, but he's somebody who I work with at Boise State quite a bit. In fact, I first met him. I forget, I guess it was the 2012 year because it was the summer of my junior year at Syracuse, where I went to the NSMA Awards. My friend in school, Bill Spalding, he won the Nance Award that year. And, wanted to go and thought it was a great networking opportunity, especially because at the time, it's my summer of junior year. The next year you're out here looking for jobs. So the more people you talk to, the more people you know. And plus, then I get to also hang out with my friend Bill for a little bit too. So
Sure.
That was cool. And I got to meet Bob Beeler, who was one of the people who was there. He was the Idaho Sportscaster of the Year that year. He's been the voice of Boise State for football and men's basketball for a long time now. And met him and stayed in touch throughout that year. And it just so happened that the job in Idaho Falls for minor league baseball opened that summer. They were a Royals affiliate. So ended up being lucky enough to get that job. And then the Boise State job opened during that summer where I was at in Idaho. So, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what that connection is going to be. And it kind of, in a way, my path to Idaho, in a way, started with the NSMA Awards. And I just went as, somebody who just wanted to meet people back in 2012.
Well, that's such an awesome story, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of Dave, who's also a Syracuse alum, and say that I'm glad that it worked out that way. And my next question for you, Chris, is you've covered everything from, I'm sure, basketball to baseball to, as you mentioned earlier, the Olympics and football. What would you say is a favorite moment or a game or a play, if you will? What has been your favorite kind of event to cover, if you had to maybe narrow it down to one or two?
There's a bunch, but if I had to narrow it down, like every event you do is you treat it like the Super Bowl, right? Like the next game you're doing,
Right.
whether it's Boise State softball game against Fresno State, or it's the NCAA tournament game to reach the Final Four. Like in a way, like your job is to treat every game like it's the most important thing that you could be watching at a certain point. So there is that. But with all that being said, the Bayou Classic that I called for NBC Sports Network, it was back this most recent November. It's always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And why that was special to me is because my family grew up every year watching the Bayou Classic. It was basically our family Super Bowl. We'd throw a huge party. We'd have like all this Cajun food. It's Southern versus Grambling. It's in New Orleans. It's always at the Superdome. And I think my family went to it, or at least was in New Orleans during the time of the Bayou Classic. I don't think they went to the game, but they're in New Orleans for it, like around the time where I was born, a little bit before that. So it just became like a family tradition. We'd invite all our uncles and invite all our relatives, and you have some cousins over, and my mom would make a bunch of food. So that was really always like such an important thing. And historically going back, it's a really significant game between two huge HBCU programs in Southern versus Grambling. So for me to have the opportunity to call that game for NBC Sports Network this most recent season was certainly special for me, and it's something I'll always remember.
Wow, that's such an awesome story. I love the personal connection with you and your family. I'm sure they loved watching you on the TV and calling it just as you had watched the greats before you.
Yeah, not
You
only
know,
that, but it's funny. The crew was fantastic. Got to work with Anthony Herron, who was the color announcer, Lewis Johnson, who was the sideline reporter. Great, producing staff as well. And little did I know, but the producer went out on Instagram and reached out to my brother, who they just like saw my Instagram and found like my brother, who we were like, hey, do you think that we could, you could record some videos of the family and we can have that play on the broadcast? Like, I didn't know that they were doing this. And then, at the end of the game, when the game was over, before the sign off, my family got on on the screen. They had recorded a video that they played before the sign off, which was really cool. So not only
wow.
was I on it, but my family was too. So the fact that my whole family got on the Bayou Classic broadcast was really nuts and just fun. Thanks to them.
That must have been extra special. I can't imagine. That's awesome. Well, my last question I wanted to ask you, Chris, is for those younger sportscasters like myself, people just getting into the industry. What advice do you have, especially with COVID hitting and things being a little bit different now?
Yeah, just number one thing is just to have as much fun as you can. Like that's when it's fun and when you're enjoying it and when you love the preparation and you love the games itself, that all the things that can be perceived negative about the industry, which I'm sure you hear stories about how tough it can be and how frustrating it can be at times. But as long as it's fun for you and you enjoy, being all the different parts of it, whether it's
Sure.
going far away from home or, living alone for a while or not having much family nearby or, a lot of hours without sleep as you're preparing for games. But if you really enjoy the prep and really enjoy being behind the microphone and watching sports, I think that just keep that kind of perspective is probably the best advice that you can get. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be challenges, there'll be heights, there'll be things that you love, there'll be things that probably you don't love as much, but as long as you can kind of have fun and smile through it and really enjoy the time that you are in front of a live sports event, getting a chance to call it, like that's probably the best advice.
I love that. At the end of the day, just stepping back and saying, "Hey, I'm working, but this is also a ton of fun too, and enjoying it as you go along." That's great
Mhm.
advice from our 2021 Idaho Sportscaster of the Year, Chris Lewis. Chris, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, we'll see you in Winston and go Broncos. Best of luck in the tournament.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.